Let's start with CJ Stroud, Dan. What do you make of his fit in Houston?
It's perfect because Houston really can put a full pass game offense in because his ability kind of like to see the whole picture when it comes to what a defense is going to do after the snap is a complete capability of his that's a strength, really. Okay, so you take the back and you move him out of the backfield. No one on the defense moves with him. That's alert number one to a quarterback that something's up, and it's all going to go to the top of the screen or the right side of his offensive formation. He's going to tell his offensive line, hey, boys, the defensive end is dropping. Let's kick everybody to the right to anticipate and pick up this pressure. Now he's going to catch this snap and really treat it as a full progression and stare to his right. There comes the linebacker. No worry, I've already picked it up with the protection that I handled. And it's really going to be a 2-on-2 to the front side, so no one's going to win. But there's a vacancy behind those defenders. Now CJ knows, okay, I have to now find a way to get that vacancy exploited. Look at the throwing position that he's in to throw this cross up over that linebacker. I mean, that's flawless seeing the picture after the snap. This is one of my favorite clips. Field pressure, the linebacker is going to fire from the field, and then the backside backer is going to replace. What you're going to get is what we call a cover 2 invert. The corner at the bottom of the screen is going to play half the field as a safety. The safety drops down. He's going to play an underneath, almost flat cover 2 zone. Look at his eyes. Sees the picture, instead of trying to force that ball into the pressure to the tight end, realizes I got a chance for an unorthodox hole shot backside, rips it into that honey hole window before the safety gets there, Marvin Harrison Jr., make the catch. That's a lot of stuff for a quarterback to see now.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. They threw it to him all the time. And no one in this class, and I love Bryce, is better at that stuff. And I think if you're Houston, you're like, yo, we can put a whole pass game in for CJ Stroud.
Well, you also have to think where DeMeco Ryans and his offensive coordinator is coming from. You're coming from a San Francisco 49ers team where they like to make things easy for the quarterback. You give him situations where he can get outside the pocket and have those easier reads. And now you add on to the fact that he's a great pocket passer because he understands how to distribute the football and put his guys in space to make plays. If you're DeMeco Ryans, you have to be extremely excited. Not only that you got the commitment from the team in your contract, but they said, you know what, we're not waiting until tomorrow to try to go win games. We're not going to get your franchise quarterback down the line. If we believe in CJ Stroud the way that we do, if our evaluation says he can be our guy for the next decade plus, let's take him now.
Yeah.
They made that commitment, and they can start building toward their future today.
Yeah, the trait we talk about it. We talk about all these guys, dynamic arms, the ability to process and all of that. The one thing that CJ Stroud that sticks out to you, takes care of the football. Like, that's the most important thing for these young quarterbacks. There will be times when you feel like you should panic, but he's one of the coolest customers when you start talking about manipulating the pocket, letting the pitcher declare before he makes a decision, and even to your point, Dan, throwing some of his guys open. These are the things we talk about with guys in the league that struggle with right now. But his poise, to me, was a big reason why it was one of the more comfortable picks coming into this draft when you start talking about quarterbacks. Did not panic with the football. I watched the Penn State game. Penn State had some elite rushes. I'm talking about with 4, and he was able to just dip and dive, find his space in pocket, and deliver the football. It's a lot to be said for that when you're going to be the day one guy coming out of college. Man.
Yeah, I mean, he has the thing that is required of Shanahan quarterbacks. Bobby Slowick, who's their offensive coordinator, as you were saying, comes from Shanahan's tree. Accuracy. He can deliver the ball on time over the middle of the field, set receivers up for yards after the catch, and then when there's opportunities there, shot plays off of play action. Then, because he has untapped athleticism, and I think his arm strength is more impressive than, frankly, some of the quarterbacks we've seen in those schemes, he can elevate the offense potentially.
That's the big
part. So there's the base, and then there's the potential to elevate it.
If I told you that if I had to stamp this offense, it should look like the 18-19 Rams with Jared Goff, would you agree with that? I think that's what this offense grows.
A lot of similarities.
CJ.
That worked pretty well. CJ Stroud, we saw him on the red carpet, and he was like, yeah, I'm really calm. I don't have to make any tough decisions tonight. You saw the poise even in the final moments before one of the most nerve-wracking for most people nights you could possibly have. Let's get Adam Schefter back in here. And Adam, what do we know about the Texans' decisions to end up going quarterback and CJ Stroud at number 2?
Well, it's really interesting because if you look back and we talk about the fact, as I did, that they were not necessarily locked in on a quarterback, I think there was some thought here that they would go defense. And you see what happened now. Yesterday, in speaking to various members of the organization, there was a school of thought that they were going to go defense, but they were able to make the trade to get picks 2 and 3, and knowing that they were going to be able to make that trade enabled them to take CJ Stroud at 2 and follow it up 1 pick later by going with the top-rated defensive player, and I would even say maybe even the top-rated player on their board in Will Anderson. They get both players. They do give up their own first-round draft pick next year to Arizona to get Will Anderson, which is a steep price to pay. But the Texans have lost so much in recent years that I think they were tired of losing, and they said, we need to be excited about what's going on here. And we have a player in Will Anderson that we love, and we see a quarterback in CJ Stroud that can be our quarterback of the future. Let's go get both. There's the price. The 12th overall pick, the 33rd overall pick today, and the first-round pick next year that is their own, not to mention a third-round pick. So it was a steep price, but the Texans were able to get their quarterback, and they were able to get arguably the top-rated player on their board.
Yeah, I mean, no one ever knows what's going to happen, right? But these players kind of sometimes have a little bit of a hint. Watching the way that Will Anderson received the call from the Texans, I don't think he saw that coming. There was a huge eruption over there amongst his family after they took him. He was, and you know, the sisters and the mom and the dad. Anyway, it was really fun. RC, do you like Houston trading up to number 3 and giving up what they gave up to get Will Anderson?
No, it's a steep price.
Yeah,
and you have to believe that Will Anderson is that dude, right? He is the Nick Bosa. He is the Myles Garrett. And if he turns out to be that, you possibly drafted 2 Hall of Fame players in your first draft, and we haven't seen that done since the Baltimore Ravens in 1996. You give up this steep price if you're DeMeco Ryans, because that's actually the most important thing to you, that you understand you need your franchise quarterback, but the way you're built internally, you like, for me, that dude's more important. CJ Stroud was the organization's pick. Will Anderson Jr. was DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah. And if you had a tremendous amount of success, you want to build it in the image. This is supportive, to your point, of DeMeco Ryans. And if we got a team that may become San Francisco or the AFC, which is very difficult to play week in and week out when we talk about the NFC and how San Francisco can turn that offense on and that defense come in waves, I think Houston is trying to build the exact same blueprint. You talk about a quarterback with accuracy. You talk about a guy that's going to dictate what defenses do, play calling wise, and then on the other side of the ball, when we got a lead, it's over. That's San Francisco. Right. That's exactly what they did. This is support for DeMeco Ryans.
I just want to touch on the other side of this trade, because right now, not a fun time to be an Arizona Cardinals fan. We're talking about all these cool players who are going to make an impact next year, the draft winners, and you're sitting there like, this was a perfect trade for this Arizona Cardinals. They got a haul. Yep. I was actually shocked, frankly, when the picks came in, and it's a team that, as we have discussed, is a pretty barren roster and needs all of those picks to rebuild. I thought this was really tremendous.
Good point, Mina.
Let me read off some of the names of Houston's roster right now, because I'm with you. Like, it's a steep price. They got Tunsil and Titus Howard at tackles, 2 really good tackles. They got 2 really good guards, and they got the guy from Tampa Bay at right guard, Shaq Mason. Excuse me. They got Dameon Pierce. John Mechie's getting healthy. If Mechie would have been a first-rounder last night, okay?
Right.
And now on defense, they have Stingley, Petrie, and Will Anderson.
They going to be good?
They have such a great young
they
nucleus
signed Jimmy
as well.
Ward, too.
Jimmy Ward. They're going to be a lot better than people think, and they make this move because they
watched the Texans last year, they pushed everybody to the brink.
No one wanted to play him.
That's 9 names.
Houston now has the FBS leader in touchdown passes and sacks over the last 2 seasons, by the way, to just encapsulate on offense and defense what they did at 2 and 3 last night.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.